Hello and welcome to On the Air with Mr. Bear. I'm your host, Mr. Bear. I'm really bad at intros, but this is a brand new podcast that I wanted to launch to get to know people a little bit better, find out what makes them tick, what drives them, what things they're passionate about. It's kind of a character study of sorts, getting people from all walks of life on here, all education levels, all cultures, ethnicity, languages, what have you, and just finding out how they view life and how they choose to live their lives, or, how they want to express themselves. I really hope that this takes off and that I'm able to bring in, again, people of all walks of life and bring in some really interesting topics and make people think and make people reconsider their own worldviews and maybe shift a few paradigms. My first guest is Tabasco, and Tabasco grew up in a small Francophone community in the province of New Brunswick. And he grew up as bilingual, speaking both English and French. And he's talking today about his experiences with that, growing up in a high school that was French, and growing up in a province that's, although considered bilingual, is still primarily an English province. And we have some really interesting discussions, both from the fact that he's French and I'm English, and we're able to discuss each other's kind of views on the topic of the Franco-Anglo debate here in New Brunswick. Anyway, I hope you enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe, I guess. I don't know. This is going on YouTube, and if you hear this on Spotify, then great. I went ahead and made a Spotify account for myself, so that's pretty cool. So enjoy. So hi, Tabasco.
Hi, Mr. Bear.
So how are you doing today? Good.
I'm doing pretty alright. You?
Oh, not too bad at all. So, you're my very first guest, which is really, really exciting. It's a huge milestone for us here.
Yeah, I'm honored to help you get this shindig off the ground.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you here. It's really, really neat to have someone who actually takes interest in this stuff. We have a few other people maybe waiting in the wings, but you're our trial run, so no pressure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of pressure, no pressure.
All the bad things. You get to test all the bad bits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we get all the crap out of the way first, and then we get with the good stuff. So, what made you want to come on the show and be the first guest?
Oh, I always like to try everything once, and I've never been a part of anything like this before, and thought it would be a good opportunity to give it a shot.
You want some YouTube and Spotify fame?
I don't know. Maybe maybe I'll be funny, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe at some point in time, people will be like, "Nah, man, no, bring Tabasco back, make him the host of the show."
Exactly.
He's got a nice foreign accent. It sounds beautiful.
I'll be like
to my Midwestern American ears.
Was it like that one thing with the Tonight Show where it was like there's just that guy that just has the piano on the side that just helps the guy riff?
Oh God, what was his name? I gotta look it up now. I know who you're talking about too. Ross Tompkins, maybe.
Who's the old host from the Tonight Show? He has a big ass beard now, doesn't he?
Was it? Oh my God, there was Johnny Carson, right? Johnny Carson was one of the first ones, but oh my God, why am I blanking on this? Man, you can tell I am really into pop culture. Conan O'Brien, is that who you're or Jay Leno?
No, it's not Jay Leno. It's I think it might be Conan, or no, Conan's new.
Are you thinking about the guy with the big gap in his teeth there?
Yes.
Oh, what was his name? This is painful. I really don't remember the guy's name. Was it Johnny Carson? It's I'm pretty sure it's Johnny Carson.
Okay, this is gonna sound really bad, but I'm gonna have to look up the bit that I know it from.
It's the Family Guy one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like Peter's tie, Peter's tie.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
oh, it's so stupid, but like that's one that I'm thinking of. It,
uh, yeah, it was Johnny Carson. Yeah, that's. Oh man, I'm looking at pictures of him right now.
David Letterman, Late Night with David Letterman.
Oh, it's a completely different show.
Yeah, like okay, I found it finally. I found the bit, but oh
Oh
my,
god.
you're so sidetracked right now.
Yeah, David Letterman. Yes. Oh my god. Yeah.
David Letterman and his like whoever was on the side on the keyboard. I could just be that guy. Just say, yeah, yeah, making jokes.
Yeah, you just help me with the riffs there, you know. You'll be Paul Schaefer. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Paul
Yeah,
Schaefer. Yeah, with the sunglasses and
yeah, I would just be Paul Schaefer, and I would just have like I have a soundboard I could set.
yeah, you don't even have to be present. You could just be like occasionally like click a button and just like, haha, that is funny. It's like, oh, thanks, there,
I
Tabasco.
do,
Appreciate it.
yeah, exactly.
um. Oh man. Uh. See, this is what happens too. I get lost in thought. Now we're completely sidetracked. Um.
We didn't even get to the subject.
No, we haven't even gotten to the subject yet, but you know that's okay because you know with all podcasts there needs to be at least half an hour of filler before you actually get to the topic, and then when you get into the topic, you need
Yeah,
to like keep sidetracking to other things. So
yeah, exactly. Listen, this is evergreen content. It's like it's not relevant to anything. Like it, like people can come back to this and it'll be funny. That's evergreen content right here.
yeah, it's perfect for everyone. It's an all audience kind of podcast. You know, you never
Exactly.
know what to expect. It could be like the title could be like I don't know, biggest sex scandal in all of America, and we'll just talk about like Pokemon for an hour and a half. You know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the core of a variety show.
Yeah, exactly. Variety show. No, we pick specific topics, and we're like, no, that's okay. We don't need to cover that. Why would we want to cover? We're just doing it for the views or the listens or whatever. We need people to pay attention. So we're just going to put some big, you know, not trigger words. What's the thing I'm thinking of here? Big like. Oh, I forget what it's called now, but it's those words that you know people put into things, and it draws people's attention in.
Clickbait.
Yeah, there you go. Clickbait, perfect. Yeah, big
Yeah, it's
clickbait
just
channel. I mean, we could just like rename this one here, like you know, Tabasco and Mr. Bear talk about their incompetence when it comes to late night TV show hosts.
oh my God. Late night TV shows from 1986.
Yeah, years neither of us were born in.
Exactly.
I wasn't alive for another what 5 years, and you had like another what
24.
20. We little babies. Yeah. Um. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking like a more relevant thing would be like you could be my Hannibal Buress to my Eric Andre, you know.
Yeah, I'm not funny enough to be Hannibal Buress. I, I, I really like his stand-up, you know, like Hannibal Buress.
No, yeah, no. See, Eric Andre and Hannibal Buress are just friggin' amazing people. I love every
Yeah.
bit of their comedy.
Oh
I,
shit.
oh shit!
Sorry, my phone's going off.
Do you need me to pause?
No, I'm good. It's just my mom called for some reason. I don't know why.
It's your mom. You should probably call her.
All right, fine.
All right, I'll pause.
We'll take a second.
So, after a brief pause, Tabasco and I are back. He got a phone call from his mother, which is always nice.
Yes.
And
And
I had.
and Mr. Bear struggled to put up blinds.
Yeah, so my cats decided it was going to be a fun idea to tear down my curtains along with the little hooks that hold them into the wall. So I struggled for, I don't know what, 20 minutes to put them back up. I mean, as a very skilled handyman, I of course swore about several thousand times. I lost the bits, I lost the screws, found them again, dropped them again, continued to swear, all the while Tabasco sitting here on Discord just listening to me just suffer repeatedly. So I mean, there's that. Um yeah, so yes, your mother Carl, is she back home still, or your mother? Well, she's not currently in your city right now, right?
I don't know. She's back home.
She's back home.
Yeah, it's a bit of a drive, that's for sure, to get there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I guess that's a segue into our topic of discussion then.
Oh
So,
yeah.
your parents, are they both francophone or?
No, my mother came from Alberta as Anglophone, but would learn French. She would live here and there, and eventually end up uh, in New Brunswick.
Okay.
And my father, he was born and raised in my hometown,
Mm-hmm.
In New Brunswick. He originated Francophone, but would learn a lot of English.
Okay.
And I would consider them both bilingual. You can talk to them in either language, and they'll get it and understand and can respond to you in either or.
Right. Right. So,
And
uh, obviously, I guess because of where you grew up, you more or less picked up like the regional dialect. How do you feel your mother fares like speaking in what is predominantly a francophone community?
I don't think many people would know that she was Anglophone. Like,
No.
no, like you're probably asking the wrong person, but
That's fair.
like I used to work at a museum in my hometown,
Mm,
and sometimes surprisingly enough, we would get visitors from Florida.
okay, Floridians. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, it's super weird.
the fabled
Like,
Floridians.
well, I live in a small French town on the coastline. Like,
Oh, I guess like were they traveling through like up through the states, or are these like sailors or what? Like or just
no,
like
no, 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 no. They're like suburban families, and like essentially, it's because our museum is the only one that focuses on the Grand Grant and the Great Deportation of the French in 1775.
okay, yeah, yeah.
But
That's a predominant date for Acadian culture.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I've met a lot of people through that job. People from you know what's something funny is one of the groups of people I've met were from England actually,
Okay.
and our entire museum is in French because we live in the Acadian Peninsula,
Hmm.
which essentially means it's a regroupment of a bunch of French towns
Right.
and predominantly French, not much English. Um, I believe like the closest places that are in English are probably like, well, I'm not gonna name towns.
Sure. Yeah.
Just, um, but essentially, um, because there was only three people working at that museum. There's me, another guy that's working there for the summer,
Hmm.
and my boss, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm gonna just call my boss Joe.
Sure. Yep.
Um, both my coworker and Joe didn't speak too well. Or no, my coworker did. My boss didn't.
Hmm.
And essentially, we were three people like total, but there was only two people on staff at the time.
Okay.
And I would oftentimes have to handle anybody that's coming in speaking English, telling them, "Hey, all our text is in French. Just letting you know, so you don't feel like sabotaged or whatever, right?"
Sabotage. We're sabotaging you. It is the French way. We must sabotage
Yes.
the English.
Give me your toonie.
Donnez-moi ta tuni.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I've met people from England, and like explain to them this history that they had no clue about. And
Hmm.
the funny thing is, like, they apologize and ask, like you're not like they apologize for that. And I said, like, listen, my ancestors are long dead. Yours are too. Like, it's been like there's no point in apologizing or just keeping grudges or whatever. What happened happened. We're still alive, and that's what matters.
Yeah, for sure. So like, I mean, you yourself, you don't obviously hold any ill will towards the anglophone population or the English in general, but do you know people back home who are, I guess, anglophobic?
I could find people that are Anglophobic, yes.
Right. Because
Um,
I know
like it's
it's
like,
you go
sorry,
ahead.
sorry.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a common, I don't know how common it is, but a common, like just saying after like a hard day's work or after getting like a really like difficult task done,
Hmm.
at least in my family, is well, like well, like either like I'll turn to my dad turns to me, or my grandfather turns to me.
Yep.
We'll say, not bad for two Frenchmen, huh?
Not, honestly, I've heard that expression here before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's because like
So, I mean, do you feel as if there's any historical connotation to that, like idiom, or
yeah.
yeah,
Um, if you know anything about the history of Canada, you know it's always been like internally, politically, it's always been a war between the French and the English, even when it
yeah,
was an
sure, sure,
actual war.
yeah,
Um, and some of that blood still persists today. That's some of that hot bloodness. And
mm,
like you learn about these little tidbits, right? Because at some point like the English population was the dominant in the government of Canada.
yeah,
One thing that there was like misdirected sabotages
sure,
essentially.
yeah,
Like at one point there was a law put into place where you cannot have teachings within a church or have a priest teach, right?
mm-hmm,
And that primarily sabotaged French communities because they were a lot smaller scale and couldn't really like afford to have too many buildings up, so they would just like often reuse like have a building do two things. So they would
mm-hmm,
the church was the church to go on Sundays and to go pray,
yeah,
but also that's where you would have your kids go to go learn math and how to write and read.
yeah. Those would be the days of like the traditional schoolhouses.
Oh yeah, it was like a traditional school. You'd go there and learn Latin, and like, you'd go to college and learn Latin, right?
Sure,
That's
yeah,
what you would do.
mm-hmm,
Um, and it's there's just a lot of like misdirect sabotages. So like something that you like living in a French community and just hearing from my own parents and just people is that predominant will to fight. Because if you don't fight, you're gonna lose everything.
mm-hmm, right.
Like
I guess that rings true too because I know here there can be a bit of a stereotype when it comes to the French population that they're like scrappy or that they're again, this isn't my opinion. I'm just saying a stereotype that this persists here. Is like they're assholes sometimes to, especially to the English people.
yeah.
Um, I remember having this conversation once when I was working somewhere that I won't mention. But we got on the topic about the English and the French debate because here in New Brunswick it's such like a hot topic, and I don't think it's ever not been a hot topic.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, they the gist of the conversation was a lot of the French population, especially those born into Francophone communities or Francophone families, feel as if their language is dying and that their people are almost being attacked or even like pushed out still even in like current year 2021 there's still people
Yeah.
who feel as if like the English are encroaching on everything that they have or everything that they've established.
Well, I mean, it's more just like in that regard, it's more just English is a very dominant language in general. It is like
It is, yeah.
one of the most like it's the business language. Like if you want to talk business in most parts of the world, you learn English, right?
Yes.
Like but scam callers are not going to be learning French. They're going to be
No, not
learning. They're going to
traditionally.
be like they're not somebody calling you about your extended car warranty isn't going to talk to you in French, right?
Pour les informations en français, puis
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And unless it's from Jean-Francois, you're not going to get any calls, right?
Yeah, Jean-Francois, yeah. Um, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I like looking statistically here. I mean, English is like one of the most spoken languages in the world, if not the top spoken language in the world. Uh, but I mean, that follows. Sorry, that is followed by Mandarin Chinese, which I believe might actually be on the rise for one of the most commonly spoken languages, and after that is Hindi of all things.
Mm.
But I suppose that's all about population density as well.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so you grew up in a francophone community, and you grew up in a bilingual household. Were there any people in your school that kind of saw that as bizarre or a bad thing that you grew up with like an English mother or
No, like I said, like my mother was never seen like as like oh the English woman because
right?
she spoke French like she spoke like a very nice French and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking like France French like I'm
Right.
talking like proper local French, right?
Yeah.
And just if anybody's listening like that doesn't know, there is a difference between somebody from France and somebody from Canada. Somebody from Canada, it's like
Well, there's a difference between someone from like Acadien and someone from Quebecois, right? This is
yes, like
yeah.
that's more subtle differences, but like
Yes. Yeah.
overall, like you can tell it's a much finer French when you go to France and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the birthplace
Like
of the French language, right? So
yes,
yeah.
and just yeah,
But I mean, I suppose what happens is language comes over here, and with language in general, it develops over time, which is where you get like your idioms, or you get like
yeah,
slang and
exactly.
dialect.
But
Um,
to answer your question,
mhm,
no, I never really felt like anybody really like judged me for my household. I don't think there was anything really down and done anybody's mind. It's more just I never really felt like I fit in a way
sure. Okay. Go ahead.
because I know this is weird to say, but like there, despite like language barrier and stuff, and just you could live in the same province, live in the same year,
Mhm.
experience like similar like world events like this pandemic,
Yeah.
and you will still have like a different personality from somebody who's lived a similar life to you just because of the language.
Yeah. I
Like
suppose. Yeah.
it's like I don't know. A lot of the people back home, they felt like they were a lot more like homely, I guess. Like when it came to like high school and stuff.
What do you
Like,
What do you mean?
I mean, like I probably went to like a bizarre high school in that sense. Like,
Mhm.
I never saw like the stereotypical jock. I saw like essentially a pinnacle of jock, right?
Okay.
Which is essentially like the smart guys are also the jocks and super nice. Like the guy that's doing really like the guy doing top in math and going into like advanced math and shit
Right.
is also captain of the hockey team.
Huh.
And they're super nice. Like like it's from them that I got my nickname of Tabasco. Funny.
So we'll digress then, because I know the story, but I suppose the people listening in don't know where the
Yeah.
name Tabasco comes from. So go ahead, like just tell the story of how you've been bestowed upon this beautiful name.
Okay, quick synopsis is just essentially, I took a 12th grade gym class, and part of the gym class was climbing the highest mountain in New Brunswick, Mount Carleton. One
Hmm.
of the things that we were told was we can't have any food that had mayonnaise or anything like too perishable since you're going to be bringing it in your backpack for a few hours.
Right.
So I had to go to the grocery store with my mom to find like something I can make a sandwich with.
Mhm.
I got some mustard, some roast beef, and just like I was just thinking, I wonder what would be like a good substitute or just something I could add in instead of like mayonnaise. And I was passing in front of the sauce aisle and found like an unopened bottle of Tabasco in a box. Um, I bought that, went on the trip, and on the bus ride over, I decided to crack that sucker out.
Yeah.
And boys being boys, they started taking shots out of the Tabasco bottle, like
Yeah.
just like smacking the bottle over their head and just drinking a few drops, passing it around like it's Jaeger.
I don't think you do that with Jaeger, but I get, yeah, I know, I get what you mean.
Yeah, but you know, like
Yeah.
I never had Jaeger, so I wouldn't know.
You're
And anyway, we get
lucky.
to the top of get to the top of the mountain. I put some on my sandwich. It's all right.
Hmm.
Not the best sandwich I've had.
No.
And by the end of the trip, I get the nickname. And every time they saw me, like because there was like a sitting spot in the center of
Yeah.
the high school. Every time they would like go and sit with them, they would be like, "Hey, Tabasco!" Like even okay, even up until like a few months ago, I was walking downtown
Right.
and like I was walking downtown because I was grabbing some Little Caesars,
Hmm.
and I was wearing because my mom she bought me a Tabasco T-shirt, right?
As mothers do,
Yes,
yeah.
and I was walking downtown, and I hear like a passing car yell out like, "Hey, Tabasco!" And I'm like, "No!" Yeah, it turns out it was one of the guys, like because like he still works back in Caracat. He was
Mhm.
visiting his girlfriend here in Moncton.
Yeah. I guess we just revealed the names of the places there, but that's,
Well, look, Moncton's a big place.
Moncton is a big place. Caracat, not so much, but
Yeah,
so okay, so that kind of goes back because again you're saying like the jocks were also like the super nice guys in your school. So obviously, I mean I wouldn't say obviously, but like growing up, you were exposed to English media, right? Like
yes,
it was probably more prominent on your television than say French channels.
yeah. Not I didn't listen to Virtue and Canada of Excel,
Right. Yeah.
right? I didn't listen to Zumafu.
Zaboomafoo?
Yes,
I mean, I consumed.
I
That was a big thing for me.
but like I didn't listen to French SpongeBob. I listened to English SpongeBob, and I
Yeah.
listened to YTV when everybody listened to Rack TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah. 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 So, well, okay. So, like, a lot of like English media, then, like, too, they portray jocks to be, like these burly kind of
Yeah.
jackasses and stuff like that. So, when you were first going into like high school and you're preparing yourself for like all these sort of stereotypes, like, how did you do that? How did you fare when you realized, hey, life isn't like this at all?
It's it wasn't really anything like that because I grew up already with most of these people in middle school.
I,
Like
I suppose that's true.
like high school wasn't that big. Like
How
it
many
wasn't I was in a small town in a small district. Like our high school
how many people
it,
were in your high school?
oh my God. I want to say 500. I'm not sure.
So yeah, that makes sense. Then you would have grown up with the majority of these people.
Oh yeah, like it was just like from like and then like they just added like people from the middle schools from surrounding towns, which really wasn't much of a difference. I wasn't really somebody who went out socially, so already like most people already knew each other and stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
and just.
So how do you think your experience would have differed if you went to a an English school?
I think things would have been a bit different. I think I would have been able to socialize a little bit better. Because again, but thinking about personalities, there's
Hmm.
very little people that I felt that I made friends with. Not that I didn't like them, it's more just I didn't have like that connection of friendship, right?
Right.
Like
So
I had a hard time connecting because I didn't play um I didn't play like NBA 2K, or I didn't play
FIFA and all that fun stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
and I didn't play the Call of Duties at the time, and
Yeah.
it's like I couldn't like walk up to somebody who's like, "Hey, you want to play some Team Fortress 2 tonight?" And they're like, "What the fuck is Team Fortress 2? I have my Xbox One, and that's it."
I mean, yeah. Again, I mean, you and I went to high school at like years apart. I like almost 10 years, if not 10 years apart.
Yeah,
So I would say my high school experience was, you know,
different.
completely different than yours because I mean, one, we only had one high school in the district. It was still less than 500 people in the high school. It's, I think, pretty sure. But see, when I consumed, obviously I consumed similar media than you did, but going into high school, my interpretation of things is like, oh, it's very cliquish, and there's gonna be jocks and blah blah blah. I didn't really realize that because I was also kind of a newcomer to the town I lived in. I wasn't born there. I wasn't raised there for the most part. But I mean, my high school, it was mostly stoners and I would say preps, and that was about it. You were either a stoner or a prep, and then they were kind of divided into subtypes. Like,
Yeah, like there was the obvious groups in the high school too. It was
mm-hmm.
just like there was the small cliques, but it was just
Right.
it was like to a lesser degree. I feel like compared to bigger places.
Mm-hmm. Um. So, so your father, you said he was born here in New Brunswick too. So,
Yeah.
do you guys do much with like the fact that you're Acadian, or do you celebrate like
Okay, well, we celebrate the
Kenzu and
yeah, we celebrate the 15th of August.
mhm. So again, for the people who don't know what the 15th of August is, what is that for the
It,
Acadians?
it's the Canadian holiday just to say that, like, hey, we survived a literal attempt of genocide
Right.
on our culture, and like it's just like we were literally shipped into English. We were shipped into the American colonies
Mm-hmm.
and just like expected just to survive, like speaking a different language at a time where hostility was high and like families like purposely separated, but being able to keep
Yeah.
your origins, keep your culture through all of that, and eventually being able to come back to like Canada and
Mhm.
just like maybe not in the same place, but just in general.
See, I'm not entirely sure about the English school systems or like the daycare systems here, but a huge part of the Nova Scotia daycare curriculum, or sorry, early childhood education curriculum. I'm sorry, I'm using a dated term here, but a big part of it is preservation of the French language. It's actually a huge part of the curriculum, despite the fact that Nova Scotia, compared to New Brunswick, isn't a bilingual province. It is a primarily Anglophone province because, I mean, Nova Scotia, Nouveau-Écosse, it's literally New Scotland. So, I mean, there's some Gaelic, scattered around or whatever, but I suppose a lot of Acadians kind of either fled or were driven away from Nova Scotia.
Well, yeah, well, Acadia was Nova Scotia, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I
Mm.
I I have like a bad memory about things, but
Yeah. See,
just
I mean, again, different school experiences too. Like, I'm 10 years before you,
like
so like our history lessons probably a little bit different. But we focused more on like the loyalists and like the colonization of the English here.
yeah,
And
here, wait. I've got like a quick thing you can pull up.
yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah, just like I'm gonna send it to you in Discord. Just like this was Acadia.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
This was like the entirety of Acadia, like Fort Lawrence, like just like all this. And we were known as the peaceful French. That's what we were known as
Mm-hmm.
during the war of like French and English in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, the English, like the English governor decided just he had enough. Like because we wouldn't pledge allegiance and we wouldn't give up our church, or we wouldn't give up our religion because they wanted us
Yeah.
to be Protestant. And like we said, we didn't want that, but like we just want to be peaceful. We don't want to fight for nobody.
See, um,
And
yeah, obviously you know a little bit more about this than I do because I always assumed that like those coming over from Western Europe were predominantly Catholic,
no,
but
it's like the reason it was because like it's different than being Catholic is because long story short, the King of England he wanted to marry. He wanted to marry, fuck, and divorce a lot of people, and eventually he married somebody that was really close to the Pope at the time, and the Pope
mhm.
and you need to ask the Pope for a divorce, and the Pope was
Okay.
like nah, mate, and the King was like, all right, fucking, I'm gonna make my own religion with blackjack and hookers.
You know, I think this is exactly how it happened too. Like Pope was like, "Nah, man, nah, mate, no, nah."
Exactly. It's like, and essentially that's all it is. That's the only difference. It's essentially still being Catholic, but you're Catholic to the king,
Yeah,
and the king, you know.
it's the King's Catholic, you know, like the Queen's English, it's the King's Catholic, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and just
So, I guess Florida is you know obviously it's down along the southern part of the
yeah.
states, if you know it's the southernmost part of the states, but so you're saying a lot of Floridians came up, but what about like people from like Louisiana? Because
Oh yeah, yeah, because yeah, I know about the Cajuns.
yeah, Cajuns, yeah.
Surprisingly, not too many Cajuns.
Mm-hmm.
But like we did mention it a lot to people. I did remember the case where a guy came in, essentially going on his own like ancestral journey because
Okay,
he had Acadian blood. He had like his great grandmother was Acadian,
right.
and he did not know a lick of French, right? He didn't
Mm.
know a lick of his culture, of the culture that he came from, and he was trying to rediscover that. And it was heartbreaking having so much information there at our museum, doing the best I could to explain it all, and he couldn't read a lick of it. Like, it's
Yeah.
like a lot of people, like, those are some of the Acadians that weren't lucky, is the people that lot like that fell to this to the deportation, to the intent of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like not every Acadian got through it, and that's kind of like the result is just some people like living in America right now, not knowing that their ancestors were not welcome, that like they were hated on, and they had to hide their culture and ultimately forget it, and just that like for some people they'll never know that. They'll live their entire lives without knowing that.
That's you know I suppose that rings true with yeah, I mean colonization in general. Um, there's a lot of New Brunswick history that was lost probably to time at this point because of all like you know the English came over and they basically said you know what this is now our land, this is you guys will follow what we tell you to do, and if you don't then either get out or we're going to kill you or we're going to forcibly assimilate you.
Yes.
And you know I'm speaking from the side of like my family is legitimate like a single generation away from being from England. um and yet on a different side of the family we have French. And like my on one side of the family one of my grandparents spoke pretty much French and Norwegian. Like that was like the two languages he knew.
Yeah, that's like interesting combination, that's for sure.
It is, but I mean, it's again because of you know, um, immigration is what I meant to say, because of immigration. but but I could be remembering this wrong, but at one point in time, he went to an English school because there was really no such thing as a French school.
Yeah.
And of course, he lost all of his French, and he, to this day, I don't think he speaks a word of it, despite it being his native tongue.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my grandfather, like he wanted to be an engineer,
Mm,
and this was back when the NBCC was known as the New Brunswick Technical College,
right? Yeah.
and there were no French courses, so he had to take it in English. And my grandfather is like the he can pass by in English.
Oh, sure, sure.
You know what I mean, like the guy that just knows enough and just can talk it enough. Like,
Yeah.
just. So imagine trying to go and get your engineering degree, just knowing the language enough.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why like, he eventually switched over to do a machinist as his chosen trade.
Hmm. So, okay, so I'm just taking a look at like statistics, and of course, it hasn't really been updated yet because our censuses aren't censi. I don't know what the plural of census is. Census is, I think. Uh, hasn't really been updated yet, but looking at New Brunswick's like breakdown of language, we have about 60% of it is English only, 9% French only, and about 34%. Obviously, those numbers don't really add up, but
34%?
34% are bilingual, are considered to be bilingual.
Huh.
Um, but do you feel as if most of the people who are bilingual started with French as their native tongue, or do you feel as the English learning French?
I'm gonna say it's more common for somebody who starts French to learn English and to use English primarily because a lot of business and a lot of opportunities present themselves in
Mm-hmm.
English. But like I would find it more rare where like you start in English and you just like sort of diverge into French because like um there's a lot of just prejudice, I guess. Like there's some
Mm-hmm.
businesses I've talked like to some of our mutual friends
Mm-hmm.
have stated in the past that there have been businesses in their hometowns that like on like the hiring qualifications is to be able to speak French only.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
they're only hiring French people,
Right.
right? And that's like it I get that it's like business owners can do that, but that's still
Mm-hmm.
kind of prejudice. Like you are literally limiting yourself in terms of skill and
Right.
staff and manpower.
Right.
And that's
Yeah. Because
like you,
opening yourself up to like people who are able to speak the predominant language, regardless if it's accented or
yeah,
not.
like if I like apply there and I like all right, let's say like I'm an English speaker and I can get by in French. And like are you gonna turn me away? Or are you gonna be like, all right, I like this would be a good opportunity for you to learn some more French.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
I know people like there are some people where they didn't know French before getting a job, where like they had to like learn it or learn parts of French to be able to work actually.
Oh, absolutely. I have a friend who did that actually. He was taking French night courses just so he could get a job.
Yeah,
And
it's
I mean, he studied French immersion all through school, but obviously he became an adult. He didn't speak it as much, and
like
um,
you like
go ahead.
yeah, being bilingual is such like a head start
Oh,
in
absolutely, absolutely.
getting a job. Like it doesn't matter if everyone at your job speaks English. The fact that you're bilingual puts you just a notch above somebody with the same requirements as you.
Mhm.
Like somebody with the exact same resume as you, but you're bilingual, you're going with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I don't know if you've ever done like a French or an English proficiency course or anything like that, but do you find they set the bar lower for a francophone person to get a like an English proficiency? than it would be for like an English person trying to test into a French proficiency? Or
I'm I'm not too sure about that, to be honest.
okay,
Like, the only thing I could think of kind of related to that would be like more school oriented when it came to English and French classes.
yeah,
Like, because this is purely based on nothing but my own opinion,
yeah,
upon the both languages, right?
mm-hmm.
Now, let's say you have French boy and an English boy,
Mm-hmm.
each going to the like related high schools, right?
Right,
And both of them are barely passing each of their classes
mm-hmm.
in the terms of who I think is microscopically more intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it would be the French boy because if you have ever had to do any kind of French grammar ever,
Yeah.
you will know.
Oh, yeah.
Like the fact that he's passing with 60 and the other guy's passing with 60 in English is not comparable.
Yeah, you're you're I mean, there are studies to suggest like the more languages you know, like the higher your IQ, which does kind of make sense. I mean, they're correlated studies, so.
Yes,
But
okay.
but I mean, yeah, thinking about the French language and me, I went through core French. I didn't go through French immersion, and just to say, core French during my generation really not the best.
Uh-huh.
Most of my French teachers spoke English to us because none of us wanted to put in the effort to learn French. Um, However, like even at a 12th grade level, we were going over French grammar rules. And like in English, we have like past tense, present tense, and future tense.
Exactly.
French has another tense. I'm forgetting what it's called.
Uh, let's see here. Yeah, the passé imparfait, futur imparfait,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
infinitif. Um, Look, listen, you need a book to conjugate. That's how many. You need a book.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing too. I feel as growing up in an Anglophone communities, like I feel as a lot of us don't really get exposed to the French language as much as someone saying growing up northern New Brunswick, where it's more commonly spoken, if not the predominant language there.
My God. Oh,
Like,
you know. Sorry, I'm sorry. I need to. If I don't know if you're gonna put this into the podcast anywhere, like when if you put it to YouTube, but just for anybody who knows this book, for anybody who knows this
oh,
book.
the Becherel, l'art de conjugu.
Oh my God.
No, yeah, I remember that one.
Just
12,000 verbs.
yeah,
Oh
they
god.
want to make you think there's three categories, but there really isn't. There's two.
No.
There's two categories, and then the other. Like you know when it's like, you know when in, like on forums,
Yeah.
there's like, are you a male, female, or other? This
Yeah.
is the same thing for the verbs. Is it? Are you like spelled with an AIT at the end? Are you spelled with an ER at the end, or are you in the other?
See, when I was going through French lessons and stuff, like ones that ended in ER, I was like, oh yeah, that's easy. And then I got to high school level French, and I'm like, never mind. No, that's terrible. Why does it suddenly have like an A and an I at the end of it? I'm no, stop, please.
Yeah.
Like, um, see, again, like, see, I can read French like pretty damn well. I would say almost. I guess
Okay.
fluently read French, but
Okay. Let's see here.
speaking it is a completely different thing
Oh yeah.
because again it's dialect based, especially here in New Brunswick. Like different parts of New Brunswick speak a different kind of French, and then you throw in Chiac, and then it gets really messy. And I think just speaking as an English speaker, like going into places and trying to speak French, I've gotten dirty looks. I've gotten people who roll their eyes at me and just switch to English immediately. And
Yeah, I never like. I'm always the one that's supposed to switch. Like whenever I see
Mhm.
somebody's having like, I'm always the one just like, I'm always like, all right, French ou anglais.
Mhm. Right. I think in a professional terminology that we would call the active offer. Like even when I used to do security work, we would like be like, hello, bonjour. Like
Yeah.
it was our standard greeting. And if they spoke French, you just un moment s'il vous plaît, and then you get someone French to help them out.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I found like an old thing for the verbs.
Mhm.
Sorry, it's just okay. It's divided into group one, group two, and group three,
Yeah.
and then the auxiliaries, which is avoir and être, which is having and being, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's mode indicatif, présent, imparfait, passé simple, futur simple, and then there's more than mode indicatif.
Mhm.
It is that's just the verbs. Now let's get into the genders. Want to know what gender an airplane is?
Is it female?
I think so. I don't fucking know.
I've gotten that answer from people who speak French too. They're just like, "So what gender is this?" I don't know. It's one of the two.
It's,
Does
it
la
doesn't
or le sound better in front of it? I don't know. I'm gonna use la. It's whatever.
it doesn't matter, but people will pretend it matters.
I mean,
Like,
Duolingo pretends it matters.
okay, do you wanna know who the only person in my entire high school really thought that mattered?
French teacher?
No,
No.
not even like a pretentious little like French girl, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like every time I would talk, she would like say I would be saying like, "Oh, as-tu été voir la game?" And she would say, "Oh, c'est le game." And
Le
it's
game.
like,
Yeah.
like she would always correct me in the middle of my sentences, and you don't know how much I don't care and how frustrating it is.
See.
The nature of language is to be understood
Mhm.
about like the sounds coming out of your mouth. If
Right.
you
Yeah.
understood me, language has succeeded.
Yeah. See, I suppose, eh, you know, proper. This is more pronunciation, but like je and j, like that completely changes it. A sentence, right?
Yeah,
But I suppose like just the la or le in front of something, it's still the word the. Like
exactly.
it's just
It's either feminine the or masculine the. And
yeah.
I don't even want to think about Spanish. So let's not talk about Spanish.
Yeah. Well, it's and then when you pluralize it, like it's still le, and then it the gender doesn't really matter at that point. Like it still does in the context of the sentence for like sentence structure, what have you, but sometimes it still sounds the same whether it be a masculine or feminine word. Like
Exactly.
or like yeah, petite is still petite. Like
And
um
like okay, I'm gonna steal this from a comedian.
sure.
So this is from like a French English comedian. It might have been
Mhm.
Sugar Sammy that I heard it from. I'm not sure. Um,
Sugar Sammy. Okay.
yeah, Sugar Sammy is a very nice bilingual comedian in Canada.
Okay.
Um, I don't know if it was him or just another comedian that I've heard it off of, but essentially, people think French is the language of love until you know French. Like you can use it in the United States. Like
Yep.
you could walk up to any woman in the bar and say like, "Oh, I like to sleep au naturel." But if you come into Canada and you can't use English as like this romantic inflex
Yep.
because you can't walk up to a lady at a French bar saying, "Moi j'aime ça dormir butt naked." Like
Yeah.
it doesn't work. You're like
It
French
doesn't
does not
translate
sound
well.
it doesn't translate well, and people don't think like once you live in Canada, like French is not like that romantic accent you think it is. It is just another language, right?
Well, I was gonna say yeah because um I mean I would say there's definitely a difference between accents here like all over New Brunswick. The more northern you get, the more Quebecois it starts to sound.
Yeah.
Um but the typical, and I'm sorry, but this is the way most people here will mimic a French accent. They go, "Oh yeah, je m'appelle Jean-Guy Rubber Bootla." Like that's just
Yeah,
like
that's
it, but I mean, I suppose that's almost similar to what would be some of the more, I guess, backwoods French accent, right?
yeah.
The very very strong gravelly one. It's nothing like
Je m'appelle
France.
je m'appelle Jean-Claude.
Yeah, Jean
Comment ça
Claude.
va? Comment ça va, jamais?
Yeah. Then it gets a little less romantic because it sounds like
Yeah, it's just like, and also like, I'm gonna be honest. I really like some of the old, like the old man, um, like not inflections, but like sayings.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like one of my favorite French ones is like, "Hey, viens quelque temps puis on se comprendra des menteries." Just like come back sometime and we'll tell each other lies, saying like, "Hey, like come back and talk again."
Yeah, see that's yeah. There is definitely a charm to it, regardless of accent.
It's,
Like,
it's
I
there's a really a rustic charm to
there
like that
is.
whole life.
It's
Really,
especially if you visit like when like the Acadian villages and stuff like that, and you
oh,
hear
yeah,
them talking like that. Then the whole like haha they talk like Jean-Guy, like
yeah,
it kind of goes out the window because the language is still beautiful in and of itself.
yeah.
Um, and I think it's really important, that the language is preserved here in Canada, which is
Yes,
why it's a big part of our language act.
and I do actually want to like circle back a little bit on like hate and stuff
Yeah.
because I will agree there is a lot of very strong worded Frenchmen
Hmm.
who will get huffy at you when you're at the 7-Eleven and you can't speak French to them, and
Hmm.
they're like, "Oh, mais qu'est-ce qui se passe? C'est une province bilingue. Je devrais être capable de rentrer à n'importe où puis parler français." Puis then he chokes on his own pride and dies.
Yeah.
But like,
The same is true about the English. I've 100% heard English people, and it's not just people who aren't from Canada who don't speak like English or French. It's people for some English people are assholes. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm
there
sorry, I'm sorry. There's a lot of assholes who are anglophone, and with it being
there
like the primary language and population here in New Brunswick, there's more. I would
that's
say there's more assholes in English than French, but
well, that's more just population density
yeah, yeah, yeah.
more than anything.
But
There are assholes in every language.
I've 100% heard um English people just lambast French people because they're tossing in some French words because they're trying their best to speak English. So they're trying their best to keep this active dialogue or communicate with you. And I feel as if it should be reciprocal. If someone is trying their hardest to speak the language, that
Yeah,
then help them out. And if the conversation gets lost or it's a fruitless conversation, then switch.
yeah. It's like
Yeah.
it's it's. I feel like it's way more wild coming from somebody like from somebody who speaks English,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because like somebody like who speaks French, I'd say there's like the slightest amount of justification because, like I said
Mm-hmm.
earlier, there's like that willingness to fight. There's like that like fighting intuition to keep the language alive, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So like being able to speak French in every opportunity or as many opportunities as possible is like that goal of that person in their head. Like I feel like somebody who's just like there's 60% of people who speak English,
Mm-hmm.
and you're telling me that there's the same kind of guy on that side. That's a little bit like harder to justify, if
Yeah.
not being able to justify at all.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And again, like with my experience, I've run into people who just roll their eyes at me when I try, but then there's people who actively like, they'll correct me on my grammar or they'll correct me on my pronunciation, and
Yeah, like listen, like I'm no grammar Nazi. It's
Yeah.
worse in French than it is in English. Like
Yeah, it's hard.
the French has always had it worse with Nazis.
Yeah, I would say like going from English to French, it's harder. It's a harder language to learn. Like it's
Oh yeah,
there's
yeah,
a lot of subtleties. There's a lot of grammar rules, and
yeah.
it's
It's like I always think of it as being like the reverse of English when it comes to like sentence structure.
well,
They're
yeah,
like
yeah, there's it yeah, because a lot of the verbs and stuff are flip flopped or switched around. Like
yeah, exactly. Which like it's not too bad since it's still a like a Germanic language.
sure, yep.
Um, but it's still nuts. I'll tell you.
Hmm.
Like like I will say there's still scumbags in each language. Like I'm not gonna hide that. That's something for sure.
Yeah, English isn't exactly a cakewalk to learn for a lot of people either.
Oh
So
my God! Listen, if you've ever heard what English is three languages in a trench coat trying to pass as one. That's
yeah, I was gonna say there's like anything that ends in OUGH is just there's half a million ways to pronounce like trough, tough, though. Like I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Uh,
mean, like
we got 30 seconds. Sorry to cut you off here. We got 30 seconds. Is there any final thoughts you want to toss out?
um, don't hate your neighbor. Just help them out. If you want to learn something or learn a different language, go for it. There'll always be people there to help you, and don't let assholes say otherwise.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Tabasco. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope it helps people think before judging people based on accents or dialects, even if they sound like Jean Guy.
Yeah, and like thank you for having me on as your first guest. I feel very honored, and you
Yeah,
know,
I was really happy to have you. So,
it's been a blast, and
well, thanks again. You have yourself a lovely evening.
and you have yourself a lovely evening too.
I shall. Bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. This concludes the very first episode of On the Air with Mr. Bear. I really hope that you enjoyed your time here and that the topics discussed today really made you think about culture, about language, about you know, the nuances of conversation with your fellow man, your fellow person. Um, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit like and subscribe and hit that little bell notification. I'll tell you when I release new content and it'll keep you up to date on all of that there. If you have any questions or comments or anything like that, just feel free to leave them in the comments below on YouTube or send me a line, private message me. I'm pretty open and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I promise I'll get better at intros and outros as well. I'm still really new to this, so please just bear with me. Pun completely intended there. If you're listening to this on Spotify, great. Again, mentally got off my ass and actually made a Spotify account, so that's, pretty nifty. If, if you're listening to this on Spotify, just, go ahead and like and skip. I don't know how it works on Spotify, if you subscribe there or what have you, but do the YouTube equivalent of liking and subscribing on Spotify. So, yeah, again, really hope you enjoy, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day and stay tuned for more content to come. Thanks again.